you own a first or second generation Honda Pilot, then you're well aware of the transmission issues that these Pilots, along with like the Odysseys and the Honda Elements, that they have, similarly to like the Honda Accords with their transmission issues. The first generation starting at 03 and then going all the way over to 2008. So this transmission issue is well documented. So if you're noticing your transmission starting to shift funny or having other issues, stick along as we're going to troubleshoot some things you can try before crying that your beloved Pilot needs a new transmission. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is check your transmission fluid. It's super easy. There is a dipstick right next to the battery, yellow handle, can't miss it. You just pull up on that dipstick when the transmission is warm, so run it around town for a few minutes, get it warmed up, drive a mile or two, make sure the transmission is nice and hot before you check it. So you wipe it once, stick it back in, and you pull it out again, and then you check out your transmission fluid. Is the level where it should be on your dipstick? Smell it. Does it smell crisp and not burnt? Taste it. Does it taste, how transmission fluid should taste, So put it back in the dipstick and just check it one more time to make sure that the level is where it should be. And I've confirmed my transmission level is right between these two dots. I smelt it. Does not smell burnt, does not look black. My transmission fluid is bright red, as it should be. So once you have checked that and confirmed that your transmission fluid is indeed in good condition, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head over to Walmart or AutoZone and pick up this Valvoline Max Life ATF. And you're going to want to do 3 drains and fills. So what you do is there's a plug right underneath the engine or underneath the transmission that you loosen with just your standard 3/8 ratchet. You loosen that out, the fluid drains out, and then you fill it to, mine takes 4, but yours will probably be like 3.5 quarts of this trans ATF from Valvoline. And then you're going to want to just pour and check the dipstick if it's right in the middle of where it should be. So after you've done that, you're going to want to start the car, take it from park to reverse to neutral to drive, gear 1, gear 2, and then cycle back and do that 2 or 3 times. Shut the car off, go check your dipstick again just to make sure that your fluid is where it should be. Now if you've confirmed it's between your high and low dot, take your car out for a spin, do a nice long drive, get it over 55, which is when the torque converter locks up, so that fluid has sloshed around, and then drive it home, drive it back to the shop, wherever, drain that fluid. Now you might be thinking, well, I just poured the fluid in. So these transmissions take about 9-10 quarts of transmission fluid. So every time you drain and fill, you're only getting about 1/3 of it out. So it's mixing together. What you want to do is you want to do this 3 times. So pick up 3 or 4 jugs of these, and then set aside a few hours. Do this drain and fill to get all that bad fluid out. And typically this will be exactly what the car needs. You'll notice it will shift much smoother. It's not going to be as harsh. Hopefully that burning smell goes away if it was there. And it's a synthetic fluid, unlike Honda's DSW1. So it's synthetic fluid, should take care of the transmission. However, if it still does not feel how the transmission should feel like, what you can do, head over to your local Honda dealer, used car dealer, take a similar car for a test drive. Because sometimes we might go, oh yeah, the car transmission's broke, but if you test drive a similar car, some cars have their own characters where it just drives that way. However, if you've owned the car for a long time and you know something's up, start with this step. If this step doesn't fix it, we're on to our second step. So in addition to switching out the transmission fluid, what else you can do is you can replace these 3rd and 4th gear pressure switches. They typically go out around 100 or 120,000 miles. Both of them go in the transmission. They're fairly easy to swap out. You definitely want to use only genuine parts for this, or else you will be switching them to genuine. and you don't want to pay double the cost. I think aftermarket these go about $45 for a set, which go bad. This is an aftermarket unit, and I have one in the car that I'll be swapping out because they chronically go bad. The OEM units from people on the forums and Facebook pages, the OEM units are the way to go, and I'll show you how to swap them out. So we're right here. This is the left front driver's tire, and then when we look under here, you can see where this shroud is. Your sensor is going to be under here. I believe this is the fourth gear or the third gear. It's right under here, and then our other sensor is right up here. So what we're going to be doing to remove this pressure sensor is removing this harness here, which there's a button on the back. You push this button, you pull, and that comes off. Then we grab our 22 mil wrench and move this harness out of the way, and we're going to be loosening it. If you take the wheel off, there's much more room, but I like to do things the hard way. Yes, the much hard way. Okay, you just spin it off. You might have some transmission fluid falling. Shouldn't be that much. Yeah, nothing here, it's dry. And then you want to watch this washer. You need this washer. I'd recommend buying another one. They're like $1, but I'm not going to. Here we have the OEM sensor, and I'm just going to hand tighten it in. Make sure your washer is flat when it's out. If it gets deformed, you don't want to put that washer back. Okay, it's hand tight, and I'm gonna give it 1 or 2 revolutions with the wrench wherever it went. Okay, you don't want to over tighten this. I cannot stress that enough. If you over tighten it, the sensor will break, and then you will be SOL. Okay, that's plenty tight. It's not going anywhere as long as you can hand tighten it. Now you put the sensor right back, and there you have it. It's done. The other pressure sensor is under this cover. It comes off with, there's one bolt here and one bolt up top. It comes off, you unclip it, and then you just use the same 22 mil wrench. You loosen it. Sometimes it's easier just to take this cover off. There's two bolts here. This comes off, and you can squeeze a little bit more room here. Sometimes disconnecting this wire up here gives you more room as well. You just have to figure that out when you get to that step. So hopefully after you've done all this, your transmission feels much smoother, works better. If not, unfortunately, your transmission might be going out. However, not necessarily. It could also be problems with the EGR valve, could be an idle issue, could be an electrical issue. There's so many things. Best thing to do at that point, if you still care about your pilot, is take it into a specialist, have them diagnose it, have a trusted mechanic look at it to make sure that it could be something super simple, like, you know, bad spark plugs, dirty air filter, something like that. But usually this fixes 99% of the issues, including the dreaded flashing drive light. So if this does work for you and you go, I want to keep the thing running as long as possible because I love my pilot and I want to keep this thing running as long as humanly possible. So a few things you can do is just do that drain and refill, or even just swap out that transmission fluid every 15 to 20,000 miles. For most people, it's going to be every year. So every year, you know, springtime, summertime, just swap out that transmission fluid and we'll keep things running all smoothly. The second thing you can do is you can install a ATF cooler if your pilot did not come with one. So in the US, a lot of pilots were sold with the towing kit. If you have the towing kit, you have just a small cooler in there. It's most likely a circular one. It helps keep the temperatures down. However, if you're doing a lot of driving, off-roading, towing stuff, that's not going to be adequate and could lead to some issues with your transmission. I recommend installing an aftermarket unit. I'll show which one I have on. So I've got a transmission cooler here. It's a Hayden unit. It's a pretty huge unit. It can tow up to, I believe, 5,000 pounds. and you can see that power steering cooler right up above it, those lines that go back and forth. A lot of pilots will have this as their transmission cooler, or something similar, versus I've got this huge one, super easy to plumb up. If you're interested, I have a second video linked down below. But hopefully some of these steps will keep your pilot on the road and the transmission good for years and years of fun times and family times to come. Because I know I love my pilot. I don't know what I'd do if the transmission went out. But upkeep is very important to keep your pilot in the best health. So hopefully this helps you guys, and